This is a country that has been under a great deal of stress, new sanctions, and yet it hasn't defaulted. How is that the case? How has it managed to prize and prioritize things in a way that it hasn't had to do this thus far, given the economic stress that it's been under?
So it's certainly a conundrum because they are the Bolivarian socialism. You know, they are a very populist socialist country, and yet they've always prioritized bondholders and making those payments. And it's actually been a thing of national pride, you know, versus Argentina, which is like, you know, we're going to stick it to the capitalists. The Venezuelans have always made it an issue of national pride, and they've really done everything that they could to make it happen, and that means blowing through reserves, prioritizing debt payments over imports because they have very little cash coming in from their oil exports, so they're prioritizing. And really it's become a humanitarian crisis as a result. Not, of course, only because they're prioritizing bondholders, but the whole picture has become very gruesome, and that's when we've seen sanctions come in. And also a deterioration of democracy there. Tremendous.
Where did the money come from this time to make this debt payment?
That's a great question. We don't really know.
It seems like they just sort of moved it around. It's sort of confusing.
They have $10 billion in reserves. They've blown through their reserves to meet payments in the past and have done other interesting things. They've liquidated gold reserves. They've done some very dubious transactions, including one with Goldman Sachs Asset Management to get more money. For this one, we don't really know. We do believe, or a lot of people in the market believe that they've been behind on several debt payments of late. I think like $500 million of payments have not been made. And so one speculation is that they've been saving that money and using the grace period on those interest payments so that they can make this one. But now they have another one next week, which is much bigger. It's $1.2 billion. So we need to see how they get the money for that and if they are able to make that one.
It's a basic question, but how bad are things there? You mentioned the humanitarian side of things, certainly difficult for many people living in Venezuela, but economically, how devastating have these last many months been?
Very devastating, and now we saw that the IMF has an estimate for inflation for next year that's 2,000%. Wow. I mean, it's insane. So that's not good. Not good at all. There's just absolutely no stability. It's also one of those things where if you have the money, you have the access. If you're in the inner circle, you're doing just fine, right? But so that's why it's always kind of a push and pull, and you don't really know when the end will come because there are some people that are very happy. But certainly we need to see now if the U.S. imposes further sanctions as a result of the elections. There were gubernatorial elections recently, and they're just stark fraud allegations here because Nicolas Maduro's regime won just in a crazy way that no one expected, and people are calling fraud.